Hello everyone, today I'm talking about Dust. Dust was a pretty old game. I was just browsing through my Xbox 360 catalog, and this demo was on my system, and I tried it out, and it's surprisingly very good. So Dust was a Xbox Live arcade original on the 360, going back almost more than a decade now. But what surprised me about it is just how good the game is, how fun it is. It's made with a lot of quality. That was honestly surprising. The best thing about it, honestly, is the combat. Even though it was very simple, it was very fluid and fluid and flowy. And the main mechanic revolves around this thing where you press B to launch. So you use X to do your standard attacks, but you press B to launch these balls of light, and you press Y to swing your blade, and it makes it go all around the screen. It has this very big visual effect that looks really, really cool. Maybe it's if not obvious from initially looking at this game, but the creator said that his main inspiration for this game was Castlevania. And sure enough, it's a 2D action platformer, or action adventure game, however you want to say it, that does have a lot of backtracking, new abilities that allow you to access different places and things like that. The second thing you'll notice about the game is probably that it has a furry art style, which is honestly interesting and surprising for this kind of era, I guess. There are some characters that, the art style is very kind to, and some characters where it looks not even anime, it looks bootleg, weird anime. I'm also not entirely sure it's on the exact origins of this game, because there's a lot of Korean names for certain food items, so I got the impression this might be a Korean game, but mainly Western. I'm not actually super certain on that, but in any case. So it has a basic Castlevania setup, except you don't have a million weapons. The enemies work kind of similarly. They have health bars, you can just fight them. You can parry briefly. Parrying is actually super easy in this game. You just hold the X button and you'll automatically parry the enemy and stun them and take them out. As you're fighting, you automatically level up. I think in the demo you actually had to choose what stats would level up, either your health, defense, etc. But in this game, it seems like it just automatically does it, and you just keep fighting enemies until you just automatically level up, just kind of out of the blue, randomly. The other thing it does do is an inventory management system, so you can get things to upgrade your armor. You have your main chest plate, 2 rings, and a pendant, and also an attachment for your sword for attack. And it's pretty cool that each one of these items, one thing this game has that's different from other games, and I'm certain different from Castlevania, is that you have blueprints. And blueprints are items basically that you can create and craft using the materials of the world, rather than paying for it at the store. Another great thing that this game has that is honestly really amazing is that when you sell a certain item that's a drop from an enemy, for that specific enemy, and you sell it to the merchant will actually begin to stock that item. And so when it'll gradually over time, that says the store will restock, and so it'll get one more of that particular item for you to buy. So if you're grinding for a particular blueprint that you want to build, and you need this one really rare thing from a boss, and you have a lot of coins, you can just purchase it from the store directly, which is really cool, actually. The one thing I did find, and I'm not sure if there is a way to do this, but it seemed odd that if you did pick up a blueprint, there's no way to drop it or discard it. I'm pretty sure there isn't, because I tried that near the end of the game, and I ended up having to just make all my blueprints with all my extra resources, which again wasn't super hard because the store stocked everything. But it was just odd I couldn't get rid of a blueprint or sell it. Maybe I'm delusional, I'm misremembering, but in any case. What's also nice about this game, it does have treasure chests. It works on a key system, so once you find a chest, you will need a key to open it. There are 6 keys you can buy from the merchant, and the rest of them you have to find in the world itself. Another great thing is that the map, in a very Castlevania style manner, is divided into a grid system, and as soon as you enter and exit a grid, all of the enemies that you previously fought respawn. And the great thing about it is that if there's a big circle in that square, that means that there is treasure to be found. And if that square has a dot in it, that means there are no collectibles, that you got everything in that area, which I find is super, super useful. I can't stress enough how good it is or beneficial it is to just not waste the player's time with tracking down side quests where you don't even know in the first place if it's an issue or not. And even though the gameplay is pretty much spamming the same button, you do have combos, which is X X Y Y. You have X Y where you can jump up. You have a lot of aerial combo, or you have a bunch of aerial attacks. You also have a hit counter, so there's one mission you have to get to 1,000 hit combo, which is pretty fun and challenging. And even though the gameplay gets very repetitive, you do get 2 other different projectiles, which are fire and lightning. And honestly, despite that being kind of the extent of your offensive weaponry, the basic gameplay, the ability to be able to just go absolutely crazy on screen and do all these crazy moves as if it were a final attack in a Castlevania game, the fact you can just do this naturally in this game, it feels really cool. Of course, enemies will drop coins and stuff. If you press the Y button, it'll bring all of the collectibles and droppables to you. And you can either sell them or use them to build blueprint items. And there's also quite a bit of enemy variety, everything from zombies to flying spaceships, to giant mantises, trolls, etc. There are also 6 challenge points in the game, and these challenge runs basically, they make you go through a set area or length, and what occurs there is in this little challenge course, they make you have to hit these certain targets and reach the exit. And of course, depending on your speed and how much damage you take, will determine your performance. And I think out of 3 stars, there's 4 stars, which is the perfect thing, which is basically getting hit only once while you do this on a good time frame. And yeah. The rest of the game is divided up into different areas. Some areas are very small and just meant for certain side quests. Some of them are very big and have a huge labyrinth to them. Some of these courses or levels, most of them will feature the exploration percentage and treasure percentage, so you know exactly where you have to go if you're missing something, which is great. Makes completion very easy. What are inside the chests are usually blueprints or special items, lots of coin and gold, and occasionally you'll find these chests that are forlocks, and they're kind of called the friend chests or boxes. And inside those is actually a NPC character, usually from another Xbox Live Arcade franchise, as a weird little multiverse thing. And they give you a plus 5% health bonus, each one of them you unlock. There are also bosses, but they're not really that much different from the normal enemies. There's a haunted area, there is a forest area. A lot of the areas are kind of actually forest areas. And there's a snow area, and a final lava area as the final battle place. So I think that's enough about the mechanics and gameplay. I can only say it's extremely addictive. I loved, just like killing mobs of enemies. This is like Dynasty Warriors if it were in Castlevania, I guess, but a lot more fun. There's definitely some skill involved. But with all that being said, I think we can move on to the story and lore of Dust, an Elysian Tale. And it's interesting it's called that because there's a little bit of background on this universe called Elysian, where they already established that there are 5 sacred blades in the world, and when Dust wakes up, he basically has one of them called Agra. It's interesting. The characterization in this game is fairly alright. I mean, I'm not sure if the free aesthetic has influenced the story at all, but it does remind me of a very kind of anime setting. Essentially, Dust wakes up and he has amnesia. Essentially one of the more lazier character tropes. But I think it works for his character. He's kind of this silent, strong type. And the sword Agra comes to him and says, I've been summoned by you and chosen to wield you for the sake of the fate of the world. And what occurs throughout the story is that the sword, who is sentient, obviously knows much more than what's going on, but won't tell the main protagonist because it would interfere with his destiny, essentially. You're also greeted by Fidget, who is the flying companion who actually shoots the projectiles and allows you to do these crazy cool moves, who is kind of the comic relief slash other companion character, similar to a Navi, almost from Legend of Zelda, I would say. And she kind of, berates you and doubts you and, kind of is the more mischievous character of the bunch. And honestly, when I first started this game, it felt a little bit cringe, just the fact this is all furry core and etc. But honestly, the characters really did grow on me in the end. And this game also does a lot of very odd things with its lore. The actual identity of Dust and the fact of his origin story is really unusual. I've never seen anything quite like it. And it kind of plays into the idea of a dual nature, the fact that, one can choose to be good or evil. And then there's also the fact that there's kind of a overtones of tribal warfare that essentially the main antagonist of the game is trying to eradicate a race of other furries, for the lack of a better word, and tribe in the game. And it's kind of okay in the sense that that's kind of a interesting motivation that he has to wipe out this entire race, but it doesn't really get into why they're different or what they did to deserve it. It's just that he is a one-note character, and it's very interesting that the good guys essentially have these more Oriental or Korean sounding names, while the antagonists have essentially Roman names, which is kind of funny. And they're kind of the Empire, right? But yeah, they don't really go into the reason why they need to be wiped out or why the guy is evil. He just says they just have to be. They do talk about that they have a certain technology called the flameless, the flameless light. But aside from that, there's no extrapolation on why that is. It's just like they're bad because they're bad. Aside from that, though, it does very much remind me of the anime kind of aesthetic, in that there is a female childhood friend who grows up with you and is kind of like not exactly a love interest, but definitely a major supporting role. You find out about Dust's past and why he is, and of course all the villagers will have a series of side quests. And so again, some of these side quests are really odd. There's one minor spoiler for a minor one. But essentially, you have to get this spring water to help heal this, rock kid's dad. And even though you accomplish the task, you basically arrive too late regardless, and the father perishes regardless of what you do. And it kind of goes into dealing with that grief and how a character can overcome it. And it was just really interesting to see that kind of narrative and whatever used in a story. Usually it's a happy day, everyone lives, everyone's happy, but in this case it's like no matter what you, sometimes you're just dedicated to the hand of fate and there's nothing you can do about it, which is frankly kind of shocking, I would say. In any case, this game tends to surprise me in a lot of ways, and it was enough to let me play all of it. Also, it's not terribly long. It's only 12 hours, which is, I think, a perfect length for a game like this when you're kind of doing the same kind of attack over and over again. It does feel really good, though. There are quite a lot of hidden, collectibles and puzzles. A lot of them involve using your wind ability to carry bombs through the air past spikes to destroy destructible walls and reveal hidden things. There are, of course, normal destructible walls you can destroy with your sword and find different passageways and treasure chests and the like. The writing for the game is honestly not terrible. It's actually fairly decent. The character also, as just a design perspective, black and turquoise with white and pink highlights is very unusual and really interesting to see. It looks like almost a rejected design, but the fact that it's the main design actually helps the game stand out. Another thing that makes the game stand out also extremely prominently is the actual character art or background art of the game itself. The characters will have a flowy animation to them, but the way the text is revealed and pops up on screen. It has this blue mist and it kind of floats. It's just a graphical style that I just have not really seen in many games, and I think it's maybe more common amongst cheap indie games of this time frame. But again, it's something very unique, I think, at least about Dust. Anyway, it's one of those games that definitely isn't a masterpiece by any standard, but honestly, the quality that I experienced from this game was shockingly higher than some modern AAA games, and it feels more like a double A sweet spot. It's definitely kind of middle of the road. I'm glad I played it. I'm glad something like this exists, but it really did surprise me just how well it actually controlled, and just how like talented a indie team on Xbox Live Arcade was at a time like this. It reminds me of a time just when, I don't know, people actually tried to make good games with focus on gameplay. It's crazy that that just really quite isn't the case anymore. Or at least it feels that way. Yeah, I don't think there's actually really much else to say about Dust. It's surprisingly fun. The sound effects are really good, really fluid, dynamic. The gameplay is really, really fun. You know, you can play this for quite a bit, and it really does not get boring. One thing I like to do at the end of the game is when you have all three projectiles, I would spam all three. So you click R, B, Y, and B all at the same time, and you just get this massive storm that basically can even cheese the final boss, which was kind of funny to me. But yeah, Dust, it's a rare game. It's kind of a gem, and with the Xbox 360 stores shutting down, I'm glad I got to experience it. It's also on PS4 and other platforms, and PC as well. But yeah, I would recommend for you guys to check this one out if you can. Yeah, see you later. Bye.